Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video. So this is quite an old page that I did not long after Dina released these transparencies, and have never got round to editing the video. So apologies that you will have seen this page quite a long time ago if you follow me on Instagram. I'm playing in the large craft journal. I'm starting off with some sand, I think that is, and Dina's large large flat brush. Just adding a little bit of paint onto the page. So pretty sure that I've not gone in with any gesso or anything. I'm just looking at the way the page looks. Although if I'm being honest, this journal works better when you've added some sort of preparation onto the page first. So I'm just brushing that paint across sort of in a diagonal way down the centre of the page. And then I'm going in with this mosaic stencil from Dina and some rosy. I'm just adding a little bit of gentle stenciling. I'm saying gentle because it's a really subtle colour, this rosy. It's super pretty, as you can see. It just adds a really lovely gentle feel to that stenciling. And also it's got such a lovely shimmer as well. So this, I think, is the floor tiles pattern stencil, and here I am using, I'm pretty certain that looks like umber, and I'm just crisscrossing and overlapping a little bit of stenciling, a bit more either side of that bit I've done down the middle. And then I've got a bit of paint left on my blending tool and I'm just smooshing it around really. I don't really know what I'm doing, just kind of making that bit up, just using up what's left on my sponge. So then I obviously felt that I wanted to go back in and just darken up a couple of areas, so lined it back up and added a bit more stenciling. So this is from the lines stencils that Dina released recently that I cut up into 3 pieces, 4 pieces, however many it was. And I'm just using some of the arrow shaped one on this page too. These are great as they're very directional, so you can add that kind of movement and direction to your page using these stencils where they kind of point in a certain way. And here I am going in with some white. And I am adding 3 areas of stenciling to my page. So you notice I've got the lid off that bottle completely and the little nozzle as well. It's nearly run out, and I find sometimes the only way to get the excess paint out when it gets to the point where it won't squeeze out is to bang it on the glass mat, and then when you can't get any more out, then you need to cut it open. So here I'm just using my finger to add some paint to the back of these transparencies, and I've started off with, that's ruby and then magenta, and I'm just adding like a giant blob of paint on the back. And then this looks like, I think too much came out there. Yeah, now I'm putting it back in. Oh, the struggle is real. I can't be the only person, can I, who struggles with the extremes of not being able to get the paint out, and then sometimes you're squeezing so hard that the giant blob of paint comes out and you're like, oh no, now what do I do with that? Sometimes you can get it back in if you're careful. Sometimes not, you just have to use it up on something else. So I've also used orchid on that, so you can see that's quite a smoosh of different colours. Now, one of the great things about acrylic paint is you can use it as a glue. So because I put quite a lot on the back of these transparencies, I can use them while they're still wet and stick them onto my page. And that is what I'm doing. And the colours really do show through nicely. Okay, so then I'm just using a little bit of permanent red violet light from Amsterdam acrylic and adding some splatters. The splatters are going over the top of the transparency as well. And because I haven't sped this up, this video, you can see how carefully I am splattering with that. Now, I was going to stick the transparency figures on, but then I decided, no, I'm gonna paint some. I'm just gonna roughly paint using the black gesso, and I am just going to paint some figures onto there. Quite abstract, not worrying too much about them being accurate or in proportion. I really don't care about that. It's just the idea of people. And again, I'm using one of Dina's nice new round brushes to do this. I'm also making sure to have their feet touching the transparencies at the bottom, just so that they're grounded and they're not floating, because otherwise they would look a little bit ridiculous just floating around on the page. So then I've just grabbed a little bit of Dina's washi tape, and I think this is one of my favourite ones, is this heart washi, and I'm just cutting out some of the squares and sticking those onto my page. They work really well with the colours that I've put on the back of the transparencies. So next I'm going in with a neon Posca pen and just adding some little hearts onto those figures as well. It's quite a nice thing to do. And then just feeling that the page was a little bit, I don't know, lacking, I'm adding a border around the edge, just a loose, scratchy border with those loose lines, and I'm more than one line as well, because I really like how that looks, where they kind of overlap and then come apart a bit. It looks really nice. Kind of contains it a little bit more. Then it was a great space to do a little bit of journaling on those figures. So I'm doing that kind of asemic writing that Dina likes to do. It is a lovely way to write. It's not intended for it to be legible, but I am just scribbling down some thoughts. And also it adds a little bit of contrast to those figures as well, with it being white on black. So then, to kind of make the pink hearts tie in with the rest of the page that I did on the figures, I'm just adding some marks using that same Posca pen onto my page as well. And that just kind of helps to pull all that together a little bit. And then it was time for my quote. So going in with a Posca pen, I'm just writing my words down that left-hand side of my page, as you can see, and then I'm going to go in and just add a bit more depth onto those letters using a slightly thicker pen once I've made sure that they are all going to fit in place. You'll notice I've got the rest of the page covered with a piece of paper. That's just to make sure that I'm not smudging anything in case it's not dry, although I do dry my page as I go along. I just don't leave those bits in my video, because who wants to watch page drying, really? So then I am going in with my stamp with my signature dots on that I designed for funkyfossil.co.uk, and with some black archival ink, and you can see that just has the effect of just softening the edges of the page, and almost grounding the elements where the dots are near to. So it's something that I do love to do. And then I am going in with a Signo Uniball in white and just adding some more lines onto those letters just to kind of finish that off too. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this page, page of lots of layers, using Dina's transparencies, and just smooshing the paint on the back of them, using it as a glue. It's a great way to get things stuck in and add a little splash of colour too. So thanks for watching. I hope you've found some inspiration, and I hope to see you again soon.